I was reading this article the other day about imposter syndrome, and it got me thinking, what's the absolute worst case scenario for stepping into a new job? And I'm not talking about, feeling a little unqualified for a promotion.
Right.
I'm talking about the crushing, just suffocating weight of taking over for a literal legend.
Oh, the successor's curse.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a well-documented phenomenon.
that's it.
You're not starting from zero. You're starting on top of a pedestal someone else built, and everyone is just waiting for you to fall off.
Exactly. It's like being the guy who has to follow Steve Jobs or the kid who takes over the family empire after the charismatic founder dies. The expectations are just impossible.
Wholly impossible.
And today we're doing a deep dive into arguably the most high-stakes version of this scenario in human history. We're opening the file on King Rehoboam,
The son of Solomon.
the son of Solomon, the man who inherited the Golden Age. He didn't just get a kingdom, he got the cultural zenith of his people, but, and this is why we're here, he lost it.
Almost immediately.
Almost immediately.
It's a tragedy of epic proportions. And what makes it so compelling for our deep dive today is that we aren't just, recounting a history lesson.
Yeah.
We're conducting a forensic audit.
I love that framing. We're acting as investigators. We have the source material, specifically the accounts in 1 Kings and 2 Chronicles, and we're treating them like evidence files.
Yes.
We're looking for the smoking gun.
We are looking for the root cause.
Yeah.
Because when an empire fractures that quickly, it usually isn't just bad luck.
No.
It's a failure of leadership.
Right. And our mission today is to answer one specific question. Was this a failure of strategy? Was Rehoboam just bad at playing the Game of Thrones?
Or was it a failure of character?
And that distinction is vital.
It is. A strategic failure is a mistake of the mind. A character failure, well, that's a corruption of the heart.
So let's set the scene. Solomon is dead. The kingdom is wealthy, sure, but the people are. They're exhausted. They've been building temples and palaces and fleets for decades. They're taxed to the absolute limit. So Rehoboam heads to Shechem for his coronation, and the people confront him.
It's essentially a collective bargaining moment. A massive labor strike, really.
Yeah.
They say, your father made our yoke heavy, lighten it, and we will serve you.
It's a pretty straightforward deal. Give us a break and we'll be loyal. And this brings us to Exhibit A in our investigation. The 3-day wait.
Okay.
Rehoboam hears this, and he tells them, go away for 3 days, then come back to me.
Now, hold on. Before we analyze the fallout from that, how did that strike you? If you're a consultant in the room, do you give that answer a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
Honestly, I'd give it a thumbs up. It sounds responsible. He's not rushing. He's not letting the emotion of the crowd dictate his policy. He's buying time to, run the numbers. It feels like the executive pause.
It does have that veneer of wisdom, doesn't it? It sounds like the measure twice, cut once approach.
Exactly.
But the source material gives us a timeline that completely flips that interpretation on its head.
Because of what happens during those 3 days?
Precisely. The text lays out a very specific sequence. During those 72 hours, he consults 2 groups. First, the elders, the cabinet that stood before his father, Solomon.
These are the architects of the Golden Age.
The very same. And they give him pretty clear advice. They tell him to be a servant to the people, speak good words to them. Basically, take the hit to your ego now, and you'll win their loyalty forever.
Simple enough.
And here's the key forensic detail. The text says he rejected their advice. Not that he considered it, he rejected it. And then only after rejecting that wisdom did he go to the young men who had grown up with him.
His peers, his yes men.
So here's the question. If he rejected the elders' advice immediately, why did he still make the people wait the full 3 days?
Oh, I see where you're going. The decision was arguably made the moment he walked out of that first meeting.
That is the heavy implication. If you ask for time to think, but you have already discarded the option you don't like, you're not thinking. You are waiting for validation.
So the 3 days wasn't a period of contemplation?
No.
Just theater.
It was performative deliberation. He wanted to look like a king who wrestles with heavy decisions, when in reality, he was just building up the nerve to do what he wanted to do all along.
Wow. That makes it so much worse. It changes him from a cautious leader into a manipulative one.
And think about the cruelty of that. He makes these anxious people who are legitimately suffering wait in the hot sun for 3 days just so he can come back and deliver a line that his frat brothers came up with.
My little finger is thicker than my father's waist. That's the line, right?
Here's the line.
I mean, talk about a failure of emotional intelligence. It's just tough guy posturing.
The young men told him, show him who's boss. Don't be weak like your dad. Which is so ironic because Solomon was the strongest king they ever had.
It just reveals this deep insecurity. He felt small, so he needed to project bigness. He thought kindness was weakness.
So he used those 3 days not to find a solution, but to rehearse a devastating insult.
So Exhibit A, the 3-day wait. It points directly to a character flaw. It's arrogance maxed as prudence. But if we think that's bad, Exhibit B is. It's just baffling. I had to read this part of the source material 3 times to make sure I wasn't missing something.
You're referring to the Hadoram incident.
The Hadoram incident. Okay, so negotiations have crashed and burned. The people are shouting, "To your tents, O Israel!" They are effectively declaring independence.
The kingdom is splitting in real time.
In real time. And Rehoboam realizes he's losing control, so he decides to send a representative to, I guess, fix it.
And who does he choose for this incredibly delicate diplomatic mission?
He sends Adoniram, or Hadoram. The text uses both names, but it identifies him specifically by his job title, the supervisor of forced labor.
So let's just pause and let that sink in.
I can't wrap my head around it. The people are revolting because the labor is too hard. Their main grievance is the heavy yoke.
Yes.
So the king sends the chief officer of the heavy yoke to talk to them?
It creates this massive debate among historians and theologians. What was the intent here? Because there are really only 2 options. And both are catastrophic.
Okay, option 1. Rehoboam genuinely sent him to negotiate peace.
If that's the case, it reveals a level of tone deafness that borders on delusion.
Oh, completely.
It would be like a factory workforce striking over unsafe conditions, and the CEO sends the safety inspector who ignored all the violations to lead the town hall.
It's an optical disaster. It screams, "I don't know who you are, and I don't care about your pain."
It suggests Rehoboam was so insulated in the palace that he thought Hadoram was just some respected senior official. He had no idea that to the people, Hadoram was the face of their suffering.
But what about option 2? What if it wasn't a mistake? What if he sent him to enforce the new rules?
Then it's a declaration of tyranny. It's saying, I hear your complaints, and here's the whip. Get back to work.
It's a power move. You deal with him, or you deal with me.
And look at the result. The text is absolutely brutal here. It doesn't say they booed him. It doesn't say they chased him off.
It says they stoned him to death.
Which is a violent, definitive punctuation mark. Stoning isn't a protest. It's an execution.
It's the moment the split becomes permanent. It just happens so fast. In the span of a week, Rehoboam went from a coronation to a dead cabinet member and a civil war.
And it brings us right back to our forensic question. Strategy or character? Sending Hadoram suggests a character that is either incredibly arrogant, believing he can force compliance through intimidation, or just incredibly isolated.
It's the ivory tower effect. He is completely disconnected from the reality on the street.
Exactly. And this disconnect leads us directly into Exhibit C. The kingdom has now split. The northern tribes are gone. Rehoboam is left with just Judah and Benjamin in the south.
Okay.
Now, naturally, if you're a king and you lose 80% of your territory, what do?
You fight. You mobilize the army. And the text says he did just that. He gathered 180,000 choice warriors. He was ready to go.
But then a prophet shows up, Shemaiah, and he delivers a message from God. Do not go up to fight against your brothers. Go home. This thing is from me.
And here's the twist. Rehoboam actually listens. He stands down, sends the troops home.
Which, on the surface, sounds like a win. It sounds like growth. He's listening to wise counsel. He's submitting to a higher power.
We're doing a forensic audit here. We have to look at what happened next.
Correct. If you look at 2 Chronicles 11, immediately after agreeing not to fight, Rehoboam goes into this frenzy of activity.
He starts building forts everywhere.
He fortifies 15 cities. Bethlehem, Edom, Tekoa, Bethzer.
Yeah.
He turns the tiny kingdom of Judah into an armed bunker.
Right.
He stocks them with food, oil, wine, and shields.
So here's the paradox. He obeys the command, do not fight, but he spends the next few years exclusively preparing for war.
Why prepare for a fight you just agreed not to start?
It feels like he's hedging his bets. It's like, okay, God, I won't attack the north today,
Yeah.
but I really don't trust that I'm actually safe.
It reveals a fractured mindset. We call this episode the Fragile Crown for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Outwardly, he's complying with a spiritual instruction, but inwardly, logistically.
He's terrified.
He's terrified. He lost the north, and now he's paranoid he's going to lose the south.
Yeah.
So he turns to masonry and weaponry.
He's trying to build security with stones because he doesn't have it in his...
In his spirit, exactly. And if you look at a map, where are these forts facing?
That's the tell?
They aren't mostly on the northern border to defend against the brothers he just lost. Many of them are on the southern and western approaches. He's afraid of foreign invasion.
He knows he's weak. He knows that Golden Age protection is gone.
And that fear turns out to be completely justified. Because all that building, all those stockpiles of oil and shields.
They didn't work?
No, they were just speed bumps. And this brings us to the final, and I think the most tragic piece of evidence. Exhibit D, the bronze shields.
This is the part of the story that really sticks with me. Shishak, the king of Egypt, invades. He marches right past those 15 fortress cities and comes straight to Jerusalem.
And Rehoboam capitulates. Shishak loots the city. He takes the treasures of the Lord's house and the king's house. But the source specifically zooms in on one item.
He takes the golden shield.
He takes the golden shields.
We need to paint a picture of these shields for a second. These weren't just like standard issue military gear.
Oh, not at all. These are made by Solomon. They were ceremonial. They were iconic. Gold is heavy and soft. You don't take a golden shield into battle because a sword would cut right through it.
Right.
You hang them on the walls. You carry them in parades.
They were symbols. They represented the fact that Israel was so wealthy they could afford to waste gold on decorations.
Exactly. They were the visible proof of God's favor and the kingdom's glory. And Shishak takes them. They're gone. The walls are bare.
Now, if I'm Rehoboam, this is rock bottom. The glory has literally left the building. But it's what he does next that defines his entire legacy.
This is point 4 in our analysis. Why did Rehoboam make bronze substitutes?
At first glance, you might think, well, the walls look empty. He needs new shields. But he doesn't use gold.
He can't afford gold anymore. The treasury is empty. So he commands the smiths to make them out of bronze. Now, think about the physics of this. Gold is incorruptible. It shines with this deep yellow luster. Bronze is an alloy. It's copper and tin. It's cheaper. But if you polish bronze highly enough, and you view it from a distance, say 20 yards away in the bright desert sun,
it looks like gold.
It looks like gold.
So he wasn't replacing the function. He was replacing the optic.
He was maintaining the appearance of glory after the substance of glory was gone.
That hits hard. Imagine the scene. The royal guard comes out for a procession. They're holding these bronze shields. To the average peasant in the street watching from a distance, they think, oh, look, the king is still rich. The shields are still shiny. Everything is fine.
But the guards know. The smiths know. And Rehoboam knows. Every time he looks at those shields, he knows he's looking at a lie.
A cheap imitation.
A cheap imitation of what his father had. And the text even adds this detail about the logistics that feels so significant. It says the guards would bring them out for the procession and then immediately bring them back into the guard room.
Why hide them?
That's the crucial detail. Why hide them? You can't leave bronze out like you can gold.
Of course.
Gold doesn't tarnish. You can leave it on the wall for 100 years, and it's still gold. Bronze oxidizes. It turns green. It loses its shine.
So they had to hide them away and polish them constantly just to keep up the charade.
It is the perfect metaphor for his entire leadership style.
Wow.
High maintenance, fake, insecure.
Let's review the file. The 3-day wait. That was bronze leadership? Looking deliberative but lacking the wisdom.
Right.
The Hadoram incident, bronze authority, trying to project power but lacking the respect.
Okay.
The fortifications. Bronze security, looking strong on the outside but hollow on the inside.
And finally, the shields themselves. Actual bronze replacing actual gold. It creates a portrait of a man who is willing to settle for the appearance of power rather than doing the hard work of humility that might have actually restored real power.
It's tragic because if he had just been honest, if he had stood in front of his people and said, the gold is gone, we are broken, I messed up, we need to start over. That's a redemption arc.
That is authentic leadership. People will follow a leader who admits they're broken. But Rehoboam chose the bronze. He chose the pretense.
And the gold never came back.
The kingdom remained split and declined from that day forward.
So, to answer our original question, strategy or character?
I think the evidence points overwhelmingly to character. A character that valued ego over wisdom and optics over reality.
It's the Rehoboam instinct. The instinct to cover up our losses with shiny substitutes.
And that is where we need to land this for you, the listener, because, yeah, this is a story about an ancient king in the desert. But the psychology, That's timeless.
It's painfully modern. We all have golden shields in our lives. Things that are authentically valuable, our integrity, the depth of our relationships, our actual competence at work.
And sometimes we lose them, or we squander them, or life just loots us.
And the temptation, the Rehoboam instinct, is to rush out to the workshop and hammer out a bronze substitute.
We pretend the marriage is fine when it's hollow. We use buzzwords and jargon to sound smart when we don't know the answer. We curate our social media to look happy when we're miserable.
We're busy polishing bronze, hoping nobody notices the gold is gone.
But the exhausting thing about bronze is that you have to keep polishing it. Gold shines by itself. Bronze requires your constant energy just to maintain the lie.
That's the takeaway right there. You can polish bronze all day long, but it's never going to be gold.
And maybe, just maybe, the first step to getting the real gold back is to put down the bronze shield.
Stop the parade.
Stop the parade, admit it's gone. Because you can't fix what you won't admit is broken.
That's the only place real leadership and real life begins. A sober warning from the deep dive today. Check your shields, everyone. Thanks for diving in with us, and we'll catch you next time.